Hey everyone, this is Daryl Christopher coming at you from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and I'm making this video for our American friends in the United States, and I really have to say a lot of things here, so please bear with me. I know America has this stereotype that outside the United States they don't care what's going on around the world, and they don't care what other people think, because so many people have just gotten their hate on for America and have tried to bring America down. Well, I have to say something, because maybe you listen to me as a fellow human being, a fellow citizen of Earth, and if you're gonna listen to anyone, listen to just a regular guy from Canada who's a Canadian citizen. We're your neighbor, and we really care about what's going on. And if you're gonna listen to what I gotta say, and why the future, we're at a turning point right now, and everything is so important, that the right decisions get made. And I have to be really honest with you. The world has become a really scary place, and it really breaks my heart what's happening to the earth, and all the destruction in the name of profit and bad choices. And I think something really has to be done, because we're at the point now where, if this is World War II and it's the Allies against the Third Reich and the Axis, this is where you got to make D-Day and basically get it done so that you can take them out. And if the right choices don't get made, then we're just gonna head down the path of destruction. And it seems pretty weird now, but for the last decade, elections just haven't mattered because the candidates have been awful. And I'm from Ottawa, Canada. This is the capital city for the country of Canada, and I've been here since I first started going to high school, so I know a little bit about politics. And it really, when it comes down to it, it's like the people that say what the people want to hear on one hand, but really it's more like try to make the most least evil selection of the choices, who will do the most good. And America sometimes has said that you don't watch what's going on in the world, you don't really want to know, but maybe you shouldn't. I think maybe things are changing in that regard, because out of all the countries, like everyone around the world, no matter where you are, we all know what's going on in America. And out of all the countries in the world, Canada watches you the most in terms of what goes on in America. And we're at the point now where there's so much craziness going on. I mean, we have the Jihad going on, where those guys have gone so far off the deep end that even the Muslims have had enough with them, and it's crazy. And then Iran is going to get nuclear weapons, and when you mix religion and weapons together, that people are going to make awful choices. It's not like the Cold War, where it's politics and nationalism and stuff like that. Like, people really make a lot of insane decisions when it comes to getting religion involved in wars, as we have seen with all the destruction going on. We have China building up a huge military. Now, I'm not saying that Chinese people are bad or Muslim people are bad. I think everyone around the world is into the same stuff. It's like, you want to do a day of honest work, get your money to pay your bills and come home to your family and chill out and relax and do your things that you do in your life that bring you joy and for the love. And that's that. I think most people are they choose goodness. They choose to make the right choices. That's the thing that parents impart in their children, that you can be good and do the right thing. And I think people around the world, that's one thing that we share in common. And right now we have a serious election going on in Canada. The campaign has begun, and the vote's going to be around the fall. here, and it's really, really close with all three parties going at it. We have, unlike you in America, we have more than two parties that run in elections. But I think out of the two systems where you have the the Democrat and the Republican choices, it's like in the end your system kind of makes for better picks if it's done right. And I think in this election, for you guys, things are going to turn out, and I think things are going to turn out in Canada too. But how much more destruction is the world going to have to take before we turn things around and make things better? And we really have to do that. Like, everybody was getting their hate on and taking shots at America and making fun of all the bad decisions you were making when things were going downhill. And we watch The Daily Show, or we see American politics, and some of just the ridiculous decisions that happened, and everybody was not liking it at all. But now that America's hurting, now that America's kind of been wounded by their experiences over the last decade and a half in the 21st century, no one's laughing anymore. We really need America to be strong again to get things back together, or else things are just going to get chaotic, insane, destructive, and I don't want to see this earth, this amazing place that we have, I don't plan on being with living another human life ever again. That's my belief system. I think that for me this is it. So I want to see that the earth is left a better place after I'm gone. And it seems kind of funny that the one making the most impact on the campaign is Donald Trump, and everyone sort of says, oh, he's a celebrity who's got money and all this stuff. But it's not really that different from what happened in America when I was growing up in the 80s, where you had Ronald Reagan, and if it wasn't for Mad Magazine with the pictures of Ronald Reagan from the movies he did, because I was too young for that to know that he was such a big film star otherwise. And I was really grateful for in terms of the way that it wasn't a complete defeat for the Soviet Union. It wasn't like they got taken out and the unconditional surrender, but basically bankrupting their economy through an arms race and other sort of economic means of engaging in war rather than using lethal weapons and killing one another. I mean, as a person, my grandfather was from Poland, and everybody should know that Poland did a lot for the world, and Poland really, really, really got the bad end of defeat, the bad raw deal at the end of World War II. I mean, Poland basically, we have a strong history. We're not like the bragging people where we say, we're so great and everything, but we've done some really great things. In Europe, in the Battle of Vienna, it was the Polish, the army of the Polish king that saved Europe from being taken over by the Muslims in a very pivotal victory in terms of what the way Europe was going to go in terms of direction. So that was a big thing. And then in World War II, it was pilots like my grandfather who flew a Spitfire, and if it wasn't for those pilots in the Battle of Britain, it would have been Germany who took over the United Kingdom, and it just wouldn't have ended well at all. And at the end of the war, because the Soviet Union was part of the Allies, basically Poland got occupied by the Soviet communists. My grandfather couldn't go back to Poland. He was in exile, or else he'd be killed, because he served the government in exile in England. And basically, so the Soviets took over, my grandfather's homeland, and then out of it all, after doing so much work to bring about that victory in the war against the Third Reich, my grandfather wasn't even allowed to, with the other Polish pilots, march in the victory parade because it would offend Joseph Stalin. So that was really something hurtful to the family, and it wasn't talked about for a long time. Like, I didn't even know about that until the documentary on National Geographic channel about the Polish pilots who served the RAF in the World War II. What a raw end of the stick that they really got. He didn't say anything for decades when I was growing up. So that was a big thing. So yeah, so Ronald Reagan, he was like a big deal when I was a kid because he did that big victory over the Soviet Union. But in terms of the way the world went afterwards, it led to a lot of bad, unintended consequences, let's say, in terms of what's happened with the rise of jihadist forces and other forces around the world that are vying for the various power vacuums that were a result of going from basically a bipolar world where you had the American side on one side and then you had the Soviet side on the other, and now we have all these sort of different competing interests going on, and everything has just gotten really, really crazy. And that's why I don't see it as such a big deal that they make this big thing about Donald Trump being a celebrity, but the same thing happened in the 80s with Ronald Reagan, so why is this anything new? I grew up with that, I get it. And I think that, being a billionaire, like, he's obviously, he's not taking the job because he's going to get more money out of it, that's for sure. Like, and it's a good thing that he has that much money because it certainly would cost a lot more to get an agreement without, from him. And I don't think that really he's going to stand his ground and do the things that he thinks is right rather than merely for profit. I think that instead of it being in the notes of the speech saying "message I care," I think he really does care about America. And the biggest thing that was really important what he did, like, I don't like everything that he does. I think he's kind of the ego kind of thing that I'm so big that I do all this, but I don't think he's an evil guy, and I certainly don't think that he would be an unsuccessful president or fail at it the way that Obama did. The most important victory he's won so far is basically ending political correctness, because that's really where America went downhill. When you started to go after the political correctness stuff, and that restricted free speech, and we know from watching documentaries and stuff like that was a conspiracy theory proven fact, that it was an initiative by the Muslim Brotherhood in terms of seeking world domination for jihadist forces, that they would destroy America from within. So basically they used political correctness and making political correctness an ideal so that no one would offer any criticism of the basically the jihadist forces and their ulterior motives and their war of deceit. And it was I think a lot that perpetuated that sort of agenda of political correctness was Hillary Clinton at the time, who is running as the Democratic candidate. Now, at least with Trump, there's no lies with him. He says what he thinks, and he's not like the way American politics was before with political correctness. Was the media would wait for you to say one wrong thing, and you all, if you're running an election or whatever, you always had to be absolutely perfect. If you had dirty laundry, it would have to be like completely concealed, and that perfection is not the way the world really works. I mean, I think I have more respect for Donald Trump because he, at one time he was really heavily in debt, and his business wasn't doing well, but he turned it around. And I think the problem with Obama is he's one of these guys that you think, oh, because he's smart. I understand this myself. The same thing happened to me. You think just because he's very intelligent and, operating with such a high capacity for his cerebral output that he's going to just make the right call every time. And that's not really what happens in the world. It's like one of those things, what I'm talking about, people who've ever had a job and had to work for a manager that never did any of the entry level or junior ranked jobs, and then went right into management, and they think that everything that they learned in school that's going to make them a successful manager. And nothing, and they put into place ideas that they learned while they were in university, and that doesn't really work in the real world, people. It's like, that's the thing with Obama. That's why he failed so miserably, was he was basically the kind of professor given the job who never had any combat experience. He had a lot of great ideas that worked on paper, but do not work in the real world. And the thing that really hurt us about Obama was that he did the nicest things for the enemies of America, like including this Iran nuclear deal, but he basically really alienated and hurt the feelings of the nations that have done the most to be the most supportive and best friends of America. And I think that, if you've ever dealt with a Canadian person in America, like I used to go down to Florida in the winter with my parents and grandparents, and the Americans were always excellent hosts to us, treated us so well, and were really grateful for us. And that really, with Obama and the way that he treated Canada, and like the Keystone XL pipeline, okay? The environmentalists jumped on that, yet even though everybody has a car and drives and puts emissions into the world, that one pipeline, that's going to save the world from environmental destruction. Like, good job there. And they protested that, and Obama said that Canadian oil was somehow bad, yet Saudi Arabian oil is okay. Like, really, America? And the way that Obama treated Israel, I think that had a lot to do with that sort of liberal, left-wing, sneaky anti-Semitism that goes on. They have this whole agenda. They make up all these things about Israel, that, the Israeli apartheid and, the Zionism, and, we shouldn't be so bad to the Muslims because they get it so bad from Israel. And then the people like Iran, they like, every chance they get, they go out and say, like, America's the great Satan and Israel's the great Satan. They blame every problem they have, no matter what. Somehow, some way, it's the fault of the Jews. And the, like the left-wing people on, the college college set of people, that kind of class of people, that liberal kind of, I'm so smart that the way I think is better than everyone else, really push that anti-Semitic agenda of, bashing Israel and trying to, kind of say more good things about Islam, even though, like, the Islamic State, like, they're the ultimate evil of our generation. I mean, my grandfather had the Third Reich to fight as the evil force. I mean, as a Polish person, the number one on the list to be exterminated by the Germans was the Jews. Number two was the Polish people. And, millions of Polish people died in the concentration camps. Like, we don't talk about it a lot, but that really happened. And at least now, like, things have changed where, Germany has come a long way from that dark path that they took. And, it was thanks to Polish help in the World Cup that they did win the World Cup. So, things have come a long way since then. And even my opinions, like, I thought growing up that I would just be on the warpath against the Soviet Union because of my grandfather. Like, I'd go to Russia and plant bombs and become a freedom fighter. And, Reagan kind of took me away from that by, beating me to the punch with a victory. But, the Russians are not, like, bad people. I think, Putin's not such a bad guy. Why, go after him so much when, he's an equal ally in terms of fighting the war on terrorism, like he doesn't want to put up with that stuff either. I mean, everyone wants the world to be a better place, and we gotta stop serving these agendas for profit. I mean, basically Obama let the Islamic State happen because, you know, like basically what's going on there now, let's be honest for what it is. It's, you know, like military contractors, defense contractors making a ton of money on the arms race and the wars going on in a heavily destabilized Middle East. And, you know, like basically it's like, let's see how long we can sell as many weapons as we can and make the most money, and then we'll worry about the problem later. The problem is that, you know, things have just gotten worse and worse and worse, and that's not helping things at all. Letting that Islamic State come into existence in the first place was the worst decision ever. And, you know, I'm trying to do my part against it. Like, I'm not like, I know that most people are good people, but like, you know, I'm telling you, like, I'm a Christian. I believe in the path of the Lord, and that's where like the media really got it wrong too. Like they really went after anyone who voted like right wing or Republican. Like, you're somehow de facto evil. Like, you're gonna bring back the Third Reich if you vote right wing. Like, people were like, the left wing people were saying the craziest stuff. And then, like, you know, Fox TV certainly didn't help matters at all. The Tea Party stuff didn't help matters. And, you know, like, it's not like anyone who votes right wing is an evil person. I mean, people have lost friendships over people voting conservative, and that has nothing to do with it. Or like, the people really go on the deep end about Christianity and, you know, making it out to be like a bad faith or something. And I'll tell you, like, they think that we're not progressive people, and I'll tell you something, okay? It's like the church I went to, like, I didn't really connect with it, but I respected a lot of its values in terms of the people going had the most genuine goodness that I ever felt. I mean, and we never, like, you know, thankfully when I was a kid, I never got molested by like a pedophile priest, because I grew up in the Protestant faith where the ministers could marry and have kids and normal lives and not be into young boys. So that wasn't an issue there. And the leader of the faith is a woman, because like with the Protestant religion, the king or queen of England is the leader of the faith. So that's really progressive. I mean, that must really piss off the jihadist types, because those guys, they said they basically attacked America, you know, not just for the Battle of Vienna that I talked about earlier, but they attacked mainly because of feminism, because they don't like women having just as much power as guys. And, you know, it's been super tough for guys. Like, I accept the way things are. Like, my mother taught me to totally respect women and be totally pro-women, but it's been really tough for guys. Like, the manufacturing jobs have gone, you know, they're all but gone to China. And, you know, like, the guys that don't adapt to the way the world is, like, I worked my ass off in college to get an honors degree in hospitality management and event management. And, you know, in my event management class, 95 girls, and I was one of the 5 guys in class. So it's the woman's world now. It's like, they're making the big bucks. It's like, you know, I don't want to be one of those guys that sits at home for his wife. I want to be out there working too and do just as much as everyone else is doing and do my fair share. But things have really changed, and, you know, like, it's all going to turn around. But, you know, that really was like a game changer in terms of the workplace, and it's been really tough to get good jobs. I mean, the corporate profits that are going on are like, you know, billions upon billions of dollars, and the money just keeps piling up. Yet if anyone wants to raise the minimum wage by even $1, like, they just go off the deep end. Like, you know, like, this is the worst thing ever for the economy, is like giving people that don't have much money even more. You know, like, I think honestly a better system is that everyone who's a citizen of Earth should know some measure of wealth. You know, have like a guaranteed minimum income or something. You know, like, don't have all these ridiculous social programs all over the place that support the bureaucracy. So, like, what is going on right now, that's why, like, you know, like in Canada, we have a super important election. But in terms of the world, like we know, like, you know, America sounds kind of conceited when it says it's the greatest nation on earth, and, you know, like Donald Trump wants to make America great again. But maybe that's exactly what we need. Like, and certainly, like the way, you know, like we say in Canada too, like we've come around to saying it, admit it. Like we say we're the greatest country in the world, but, you know, maybe, you know, in some ways it's apples and oranges. We have our strengths and we have our weaknesses, just like you do. And, you know, like America, you're kind of like me, where, you know, you're weird in a lot of ways, but you're still cool. So that's what people tell me about what I say. So, you know, like I understand, and I really, you know, for the sake of the world, I really want you to make the right decision. I think that with, you know, like the policies that Donald Trump's putting out, like it's not like this, you know, perfection where everything he says have to be right. Like if you say like a ton of things that are, you know, god awful and wrong, then of course someone shouldn't vote for you. But no, you know, no more of these elections where you have to say everything perfectly with that elected Obama. And when it came to Bush, I mean, that guy would say the least intelligent statements that, you know, the only reason that people accepted them was like getting a 50% pass in school because he didn't offend anyone. You know, and basically he took that. America, I think, you know, would have been better off if, at the time, rather than electing him, that they would have elected Jeb Bush. And I think that would have been, you know, the Bush that they should have elected. I think, you know, like I like Jeb Bush. I think he's a good guy. I think he's the best of the Bush family, I guess you could say, in terms of your, you treat your political families as kind of royalty in a sense. But, you know, like he doesn't have the you know, the spotlight like Donald Trump does. Like he gets the media out and people talking because he's not afraid to say anything. Like he's like me, you know, like I say a lot of controversial stuff and I get myself out there, but I don't, you know, take it too far and go really, really wrong. Like, you know, it's, you have to know everything's time and place and its optics. And, you know, like, not everything that he said is right, and he's not 100% right on everything, but then again, no one is. And getting back to the point about management and the other things like that, like, you know, like when the day comes, and it will, when I'm manager, I will do a very effective job because I know what has to be done, because I've learned the hard way from my failures and mistakes and trying different things, how to be successful. And in terms of management, like I've done all the jobs that everyone else has done, and I understand what they go through, and I understand the work involved, and I get it, and I connect with that. And I, as a person that's from the Generation X generation, like we, you know, we have a workplace now with multiple generations. Like a lot of people are really, they need money, so they're hanging on. They don't have enough money for retirement, so they just keep working until they can't work no more. We have my generation, we have, you know, the millennials going on. So, but like, you know, I'm pretty much the bridge because I understand the older generation and I understand the younger generation. I mean, I'm in my 4th decade now, so like that's, you know, that's what's been known as the old age of youth. And getting to this age, like I've gotten a lot of wisdom. And, you know, I think that Donald Trump, like he's bombastic. I don't 100% agree with him. I don't like him on everything, but he's genuine, he's honest, and he's got a plan, and he knows how to succeed because he's made mistakes. Obama never had that field experience where things went wrong, and that's what happens when you lose. It's like you get stuck in the hole and you can't figure out the way. But, you know, if you learn from it all, and everybody likes a big comeback story, you know, like when you've been down to rock bottom and then you worked really hard to get back up. Everyone likes that kind of story. So that's what happened with Donald Trump. Like he was down for the count, and I know that from, you know, like my mistakes when I tried to go right from, you know, basically university to running a business, and it was a complete disaster. But I'm grateful for all those mistakes because I learned from it. I learned from failure how to succeed, and if I took away those flaws, those mistakes, I would never have gotten to learn how to be successful and just get in the zone with stuff and be like unstoppable and just get things done. So, you know, like I think he would be a good president for the United States. I think that he can turn things around. And if this was World War II, you know, he could bring about a D-Day victory, and I think that he can do it. He's got some good ideas. He says a lot of truth, and I think that he's not going to cater to the billionaire class and what their agenda is, because they don't really see the world. They're so out of touch. They don't understand how hard things have gotten, and especially now, like, you know, basically I spent 3 years in college, and the best I could get was getting temp job contracts all the time, which barely pay any money, and I've worked really hard to get like a career job and get my career going and help support my family, you know, get myself established in the world. And it's really, really tough out there to, you know, like the jobs that offer that, they're really like a luxury and rare now. And the world has come that because of billionaires making decisions where it's all about them and their money, but they don't care about what happens to the regular people, the people that don't have much money and pay the bills. And I'm lucky, you know, that I don't have any kids, because I've met a lot of people who are parents in temp jobs, and I'm like, really? You're supporting a family on minimum wage? Like, how messed up is that? You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like really bad. And it's like, I'm not saying, you know, pay people that are cashiers $30 an hour, but give them enough where they can pay their bills and start getting ahead and eliminate their debt. And even the banks know that they make money from debt, but they make way more profits from wealth management. If everyone has lots of money, then the banks do really well. So it's better for them, for the people, all the people, to be wealthy and better off, because, you know, the banks like to sell you all these products. If you got money to buy it, you're giving the banks more profit. Like, you can buy insurance or investments, stocks, bonds, all that stuff. Like, you know, like all sorts of interesting stuff from the bank. Like, the bank really tries to help you get on your feet and make money so that you get ahead and you give them more money and they make money, and then everyone's happy. And, you know, I think that's the thing, you know, like, we really have to turn this around in terms of the way things have gone with jobs, employment, the economy, the jihad. I mean, I believe that the jihad is going to end badly for the Islamic State. Like, I know with those guys, whenever they get into that mindset of taking over the world and, you know, just really going off the deep end in terms of evil destruction, I mean, beheading people and throwing gay people off buildings and all the ridiculous stuff they do, and they're not even ashamed. Like, the Germans kept it quiet when they had the Holocaust going on, the concentration camps, but these guys film everything. They're in, like me, the YouTube generation, where if you do it, you got to put it online. And it's ridiculous, like, all this stuff. Like, they're going to be known for like 1,000 years for being the worst people ever. I mean, they're the most spiritually backward and destructive people. I mean, it's obvious to everyone that they're completely possessed and the puppets of Satan. They're going to be damned in hell for all the crimes that they committed. And like the Germans, like, they think things are they're going their way now and they can do what they want. But I'll tell you, when everyone gets together, from the Muslim, the good Muslims who are good people and have had enough and are ashamed and embarrassed and disgusted by them, like, maybe they like them going out because they were, you know, trying something for the Muslims, but now it's like they've just gone too far with what they've done, and even the Muslims are disgusted with them, and they don't want to go that direction anymore. And I you know, like, everybody doesn't like them around the world. So when we all get together, we're gonna, you know, really smote them badly. They're really gonna get it, and they're gonna pay a divine price in terms of poetic justice. I mean, like, you know, around now, you know, like, I take a certain satisfaction that all those old Nazis that are around, like, you know, 90 and 100 years old, are sitting around in retirement homes in wheelchairs, wearing adult diapers, crapping themselves, thinking that they were thinking of themselves as the master race and they were going to take over the world. And, you know, it was the subhuman, untermenschen Polish people and all the people that they thought were inferior that defeated them, and they have to live with that when they get damned. And that's exactly what's going to happen with those jihadists. I mean,
we're basically going to learn to live and let live. Like the Muslims that don't want to go down that dark path are going to learn to get along with everyone. We're going to do our best to be friends. And basically, like this was all predicted on the 1990s science fiction show Babylon 5. Like they said that there was a nuclear attack that took out San Diego and left the city a ruin, and they left it that way as a reminder for it to never happen again. But there is also a scene in Babylon 5 where it is the Muslims, the Christians, and the Jewish representatives who are teaching them and aliens about the various belief systems of Earth. So, you know, things do work out. We've got like amazing things that are going to happen in the world. Like, you know, when we get out of space and, you know, do really amazing things, like imagine where we're going to be in 100 years. Like we're going to see a lot of what happened on Star Trek and Babylon 5 and all that stuff become like science fiction fact, where, you know, like it's going to go beyond just the communicator mobile phone to like interstellar relations and huge amounts of money in terms of mining asteroids, habitable worlds to visit, species that we're going to encounter that we're going to learn from and have culture exchanges, advanced technology. There's a lot that's going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. So, you know, like I believe the biggest thing to happen in my lifetime that I'm going to see is official first contact. Like I kind of take the Anunnaki connection and ancient aliens and all that stuff, and you know some of the episodes are a bit of a stretch, but the world, like it's completely illogical to think that we're, you know, like out of the huge enormity of the infinite universe and all the galaxies and planets and suns and all that stuff, that, you know, it's only about the Earth, and that simply isn't true. There's a lot to discover, and you know we're on the cusp of really amazing things. So I really care a lot. It's meant a lot to me to be a Canadian and a citizen of Earth and a human being. And, you know, I really care about what happens to this world. I don't want things to go bad after I leave. I want to make sure that the environment gets fixed up. I mean, like, that's the one thing that's amazing about humanity, and that's why things are going to turn around for America, is that basically when things get so close to the edge of extinction, we somehow figure a way to turn it around, and we will make it. So I believe it, you know, like we'll get things sorted, we'll get things done and move on to where we're going to go. So, you know, like in terms of the other candidates, like I already talked about Jeb Bush, and, you know, like he's got some good ideas, but he just doesn't have the charisma to get it done. Donald Trump just seems unstoppable, like he's like Alanis Morissette when she put out, you know, Jagged Little Pill, or, you know, she's just in the zone, or when Tiger Woods was winning all the golf tournaments before he got caught cheating on his wife. I mean, he's just in the zone when this thing is going off, and everyone in the media is just going nuts, you know, watching what he does. And, you know, like I think that, you know, a lot of people might say he'd be a bad idea for America, but I think he'd be a good idea. And I think the only other alternative to Donald Trump would be Bernie Sanders, because he's got a lot of good ideas that make sense. In terms of Hillary Clinton, now don't get me wrong, I'm pro-women, and I think America should elect a woman president. But, you know, like Hillary Clinton, she, you know, like women will elect her because she's a woman, but her heart is ice cold. I mean, it almost seems like she married just for a mutually beneficial relationship for power. It's like, okay, Bill, I'll help you become president if you help me become president. And, you know, she's one of those people that has, you know, says one thing and does another, and has a lot of, you know, like she's basically one of those people that paves the road to hell with good intentions. And she's really ice cold. I think, you know, more like a good example of what an American female president should be, like, you know, and it's going to happen in the next decade or two, you know, like, I'll live to see it, that's for sure, and it'll be a good thing. But I think more like for anyone who knows the show Star Trek Voyager and Captain Janeway, like, you know, Captain Janeway was kick-ass when she had to be, but she was mothering, nurturing, and compassionate and caring to her crew when she had to be. And she had that, soft female kind of side to her. And, Hillary Clinton, she's just ice cold, evil queen kind of stuff going on there. And you combine that with her, liberal left-wing elitism, like, holy, she'd be a bad idea for America. I think it's not going to happen for her. I think it's going to be either Trump or Bernie Sanders who gets it. And that's a good thing for America. I think things are going to turn around. Like, no, in Canada, we care about you Americans. We don't always agree. We might agree to disagree. And we'll tell you if you're doing the wrong thing. We certainly told you a lot of your decisions that are wrong. I mean, the drug war is a colossal failure. I mean, you guys were said to end slavery, but your prison population is so enormous, and the de facto, slave labor class, and you shouldn't, like drugs, get people off the life-destroying drugs. Like, don't put them in prison for, like the really bad ones where people mess up their lives, like meth. And we have a real big problem with people dying of overdoses of fentanyl in Canada. Get people on the drugs that help them out, like have a better career. Like, there's a lot of good ADHD drugs that people take that they get from their doctors where they do better at their job and they're focused and controlled. Just get people off the life-destroying drugs. Don't treat it as a criminal issue. Don't make your police force a de facto military where they have riot vehicles that they got from the military and stuff like that. Like, stop having cops, like, murder black people. Like, really? Like, why is that such a big thing for you, that skin color defines who you are? It's just a trait. Like, who cares? Like, we do have racism in Canada, but it's nowhere near as bad as what it is in the States. Like, you guys really take it too far when it comes to that kind of stuff, and especially what's been going on with these, murders of people in the States. It's crazy. So end the drug war. Let people, do their thing. If they're leading, like, I think everybody in life, like, people do like to have fun, but, and there's no such thing as normalcy. We all think that there is, but I think everyone tries to just have a normal life where it's like you go to your work, you pay your bills, you have a little fun in your time off, and you get the most that you can out of life and learn all you can learn. So, America, really care about what's going on. Help, help us here in Canada, like, mend the relationships with Canada. We really care about you. Canada has done a lot for the States. I mean, like, in terms of tourism, when we go to the States, we have an awesome time. Like, some of my best memories are going to Disney World in Florida, and like, those things in America like really mean a lot. But, like, mend the fence with Canada. Like, we're a good country. We're like your best friend. Like, your national anthem is about fighting us, and we got past all that, and look how far we've come. Like, we're really good friends. Like, Obama has just really hurt our feelings. Do something about your relationship with Israel. Like, the Jews are not the enemy. Treat them well. And then, like, if you're friends with a Jew, they go out of their way to be generous in terms of helping you out in life and stuff like that. So, not everyone is like that. If you say they're bad people, you blame them for all your problems, then, the way that they are, and if they try to defend themselves from that, because, like, so many times in history, people have tried to wipe them out, and that's not right. So, America, thank you so much to everyone who watches this video. I'm sorry I got a little emotional. I'm sorry it's long and I said a lot of things, but, I care about this earth. I care about America. I care about every country in the world. I care about humanity. I've learned so much in this life about things, and, like, all the movies that I've watched, all the books that I've read, the comic books, the music. This human existence is important, and, this earth is important, and we should thank the Creator every day for all we have. So, America, we really hope you turn it around. We're not kicking you when you're down. We're trying to bring you up so that you get to where you got to go. So thank you, America. Hopefully the election will go okay. In Canada, we have, right now, the best prime minister ever, but everyone loves to hate him. Like, man, oh man. And in terms of the other candidates, the Liberal guy, he's only in it because he's a celebrity, because his dad was prime minister, and his dad was the worst prime minister ever. And some of the things that just come out of his mouth are completely ridiculous. Like, the campaign against him is that he's not ready, and he's not even worthy. Like, I wouldn't even put my trust in him if he ran a daycare or something. And you know how much kids love to hear like adults say ridiculous things, and I'm sure that they would enjoy that. But you know, he's scary. I mean, most Canadians know he'd be a tragic mistake to elect him, Justin Trudeau. And so we have the prime minister who's conservative, but you know, like on a lot of things, we kind of, you know, he's the least evil of the choices. And you know, in terms of the pocketbook, like, man, you really do get a lot of tax breaks out of him. Like, I'll say this, my life is a little better off with him. And then the other candidate, we actually have two more. We have the NDP one, and this party was basically, the NDP was basically the Soviet Communist Party. Like, they wanted to like establish like the USSR in Canada. And Thomas Mulcair, their leader, this guy really, really wants to be like prime minister. Like, he's gone like super hardcore to get like Quebec vote and votes in Quebec, and basically mainstreaming the party from the extreme left where it was, making it so that it would be okay to vote for it. And like the prime minister, he's like a really, like, he's like you know, he's a bit icy kind of thing. But you know, that's the way. He's not very exciting, you know, but our motto in Canada is peace, order, and good government. And in terms of getting the job done in that regard, he gets the job done in that regard. I mean, most people look at him and go, well, he's like competent. And then, you know, like the Justin Trudeau of the Liberals, the ridiculousness of what he says is really bad. He's more like the center-left kind of vote. And then the NDP is pretty much the same thing now, where they're trying to mainstream themselves into more of a centrist view so that they can get elected, and they try to make this image of their leader be that he's a guy that's, you know, compassionate and caring and all that stuff and feel good. And you know what happens with the feel good types is that when it comes to the real stuff, like the Jihad and, you know, like, getting care of the dangerous business, they're all like, you know, I want to hug my teddy bear and bury my head in the sand. They don't do nothing. Like, at least Harper, like, he goes on a stance, man. He defends Israel. He you know, like, he supports the coalition against the Islamic State. And the worst one of the bunch is the Green Party member. I mean, she gets like a few votes because, oh, everybody feels good about the environment, but you know, she's right up there with Justin Trudeau in terms of the ridiculous things she said. Like, we had this guy that was in Guantanamo Bay known as Omar Khadr, who killed a medic when he was like 15, and that was like his proudest achievement because he was fighting for the Jihad and grew up in a family that was like hardcore Jihad. He served his time in Guantanamo, and then he got to Canada, and all these bleeding heart types are like, oh, let him go, you know, like, we're treating him so bad, even though he's like, you know, another agent of Satan and a convicted terrorist. And basically it's all this stuff that like paves the road to hell with good intentions, and he smiles and looks happy, but deep down, if he had his chance to go to the Islamic State and pick up a gun and kill a Jew or kill an American or kill a Canadian, like, he wouldn't think about it twice, he'd do it. So that's ridiculous. And this lady, Elizabeth May, who's the environmental minister, she said, oh, you know, like, Omar Khadr, this convicted terrorist, has more class than our prime minister. Like, how crazy loony bin is she? You know what I mean? So you think you have stuff to deal with in America, that's what we have to deal with in Canada with our politics. So, you know, like, I'll say this, whether you're Canadian or American, didn't matter before you know, like, a vote would be like almost like a waste of time, even though it was your civic duty. But I'll say this, because in Canada and the US for your election, get out and vote, because these are perhaps the most important elections of the 21st century, and we're at a turning point in history. And you know, like I think you are like me in the respect that we have a mission to save the world. So thank you everyone for watching this. Thank you Americans for hearing a Canadian perspective on your war. You know, like good luck with everything, America. Godspeed, as they say. Thank you to Canada for what, you know, what will eventually become a good decision. Like, I think the Prime Minister will turn things around with the economy in terms of the fall, and at worst he'll probably get like a minority government. So we'll see how it goes. Like, we got issues to deal with, but like, let's get it done. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Sorry I went off on some tangents, but I really had a lot to say and I really care. Thank you everyone. Take care.